Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Shadow of the Erdtree. Today we have a new build featuring this mushroom man, but actually it's about these very poisoned looking horrible hands. Because this build is about the poison hand new weapon of the DLC, it comes with a unique Ash of War, the poison spear hand strike, which essentially against most targets instantly applies its poison. As it's not just normal poison and deadly poison, it deals more damage faster, but then there's many ways to increase your damage build up and AR after that, such as this talisman or the classic mushroom crown. So you're just running in there, slapping them with this Ash of War poke, enjoying the poison proc and all the extra AR, and then playing like any other fist build for PvE, charging heavies for very quick staggers, and then punishing with the critical hit. We can enhance the damage of our charge attacks through Talisman and Wondrous Physic. We can make the stance break even easier there, and then when we get it, we can enhance the damage of those critical hits, and with a new Talisman, the Blade of Mercy, we can actually scale our attack power even more after doing those critical hits, leading into a stronger follow-up combo, a stronger critical hit next, chaining into itself with ultimate control of the fight. What's wonderful about this is how quickly these heavy attacks actually come out for how much stagger power and potential there is there. It's shocking how fast these heavy attacks are. So it's honestly really effective and really easy. And then you're also getting the perks of deadly poison dealing damage overall through the fight. And because we run a suitable setup here for arcane and some faith, you're able to work in some simple yet effective incantation options too. Like if you wanted to work in the rot breath from the dragon breath, that would be supreme against high health targets and a nice big arena to do so, mixing in both deadly poison and rot together, dealing big damage over time. Here's a look at it against the final boss of the DLC. So spoiler warning ahead. But yeah, here we are against Consort Radahn. He comes in with his slam. Consort Radahn has higher resistances, as you probably know. So the Ash of War doesn't instantly proc the poison, unlike most other bosses, but it gets so close that the following hits are going to proc it anyway, so you don't need to do it multiple times. In any case, you're just looking for a couple of heavy attacks to get the stagger, as again, he is very resistant. You'll need 3 heavy attacks to land compared to 2, and he's got a really weird hitbox. I found that you can miss point blank when pressing against him with the Ash or even the heavy attacks or basic fist weapons in general, but you can overcome that by not target locking, pressing yourself against a specific leg to make sure you hit it. I do hope they fix his hitbox. There's a lot that's jank about this fight, but yeah, get a combo of heavies off and then follow up with another and you'll have him down. Again, like other bosses, you can then go for another heavy attack while he's staggered and then get the critical hit even after and enjoy all the perks of that. To me, this is much like the plain and yet very effective heavy attack spam of the Starfist build, but then there's some real flavor and options, and because of that I find it much more fun, but also it's very effective in its own right as a DLC weapon. It is essentially a variant of one of the strongest builds in the game, and it's also nice to, you know, actually use the poison hand as a weapon instead of having it in your like offhand for the AR proc while using a different poison build. So let's run down the build and where to get the new stuff you might need. So starting with the build rundown, of course we have the poison hand, the key weapon of the build. As you can see, max upgraded, we've got it at an 8 arcane scaling, so that's going to be our main stat. With that, it causes poison buildup at 129, pretty respectable, but with the Ash of War, you don't even need to worry about that. As you can see, poison spear hand strike makes the hand into the shape of a spear. You basically prod with it, and stab, penetrating the body and afflicting with a large dose of deadly poison. Now, as I said in the introduction, this little jab will instantly trigger that deadly poison on most targets. In fact, everything I did it to that was poison vulnerable in any way, it was an instant poison. So because of that, we can open every fight with this Ash of War and then just get straight to pummeling with the heavy attacks. It's honestly so simple. To get the poison hand then, you're going to need to come to Belurat, so you're going to need the Well Depths key here. I figured I might as well do a live run so you can't possibly get lost, but you're going to come here to the Belurat Tower Settlement, Grace. And there's a bunch of shortcuts you can open up to make this easier, but very simply, you're going to run out here where we've got a fountain and turn right, and up here you're going to come across a main road with 2 dudes on a bridge above you. So we're going to run all the way to the end of that. As we get to the top of here, we're going to see a doorway that's open on our left and go in there and run up the stairs. So let's go to the top. As we exit that, we'll come into this room that comes out to a stairwell, and again we have another big enemy we're going to completely ignore. As we come up the stairs here, we turn right and follow the alleyway around here until we get to the water. And there's delightful sewage water. On the other side of there is kind of where we're aiming, a little bit lower though. Let's turn right and come in here. You're going to find a ladder and these 2 dudes. Climb the ladder and we're very close to where the key is now. So exiting the ladder room, we're going to turn around, and on the ledge just to the left here, we have the route we're going to take. At the end of this, and turning left, you can see how you can sneakily jump into here. There's an item on this guy, and then the actual key is on this body right here. So returning to the Bellerat Tower Settlement Grace, we now have the key in hand. So we're going to go much the same way we went before, but this time we're going to go right instead of left. And on our right, we're going to find a well that's a secret ladder leading down into a sewer area. So let's turn right. Your key is these guys that are all praying. And on the left, we have the well and the ladder leading down. So let's go to the bottom. Awesome. At the bottom of the ladder, there is a locked gate and a single guy. Use that key we just gathered to open this up. And this opens up into the wellspring area. It's basically just kind of like a poison swamp. We love them, Miyazaki. To get the item though, you're just going to veer right and hug the right wall. There's going to be a bunch of fly people attack you. They will try to grab you and stuff. I'd recommend taking your time and killing them. There's no problem in doing that, but for the sake of the guide, I'm just running here to show the exact location. Up there on that ladder is a shortcut that you can open to come to this area, make it much easier. I'd recommend you do that. We're going to keep going. Veering over to this rubble, there's going to be a bunch of fly guys here, and just beyond them, dead ahead to the north, is another item, which is indeed the poison hand on this body. That's what we're looking for. Once you've done that, you can get out of this horrible place. So that's the weapon location, how to get it. Obviously, we're running a seal though for some incantations. I'm using the Dragon Communion seal because, of course, as we are running arcane in the build, this requires just 10 arcane and weighs nothing at all. I'd recommend you upgrade it though, because you do have some options with incantations, so let's talk about that. Because we're running 25 faith, you're of course going to want both Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength, as always, to increase your physical damage as well as your defense. Then it's up to you what other kind of incantations you want to run. We don't have super high faith, but we do have high arcane, and those two things work in unison. You could run something like Bestial Sling as an easy chip for an enemy that's low, maybe in the open world, and we will increase the damage by, buffing our physical damage. There's also things like Bestial Vitality for a heal over time, or the more direct healing incantations. We have high arcane, therefore you can actually get respectable bleed build up, so something like Swarm of Flies could be an option, but most obviously is something like one of the dragon incantations, like the decay options. This will build up Scarlet Rot on the target, dealing damage over time. Combine that with our deadly poison, and now you're dealing great burn over a period. But at a bare minimum, you're going to run Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength. But now let's talk about the armor. We have the Mushroom Crown on our head. The reason for this is that it gives you an AR boost when poison or even Scarlet Rot procs in the area. So by simply wearing it very quickly, you'll apply the Ash of War, instantly get an AR boost. So that's definitely something you're going to want from the original game. New in the DLC though is the Rakshasa armor, and you see this in so many builds because it greatly increases your raw damage. The downside is it reduces your damage negation, making you take more damage. But even though the description says greatly increases, I found that it's barely noticeable. In PvE, this set is hard to put down in many builds, and so we're running 3 pieces of it: the chest, the gloves, and the legs. To get it, you're going to need to kill the boss that's wearing the armor at the Eastern Nameless Mausoleum. If you're unaware of this location, you first need to have accessed the Castle Watering Hole. To access the Castle Watering Hole, as always, you need to come to the Shadow Keep. Progress to the main area, the main gate plaza, defeat the boss there, and then you progress on the left side up to this high bridge. On the other side of the bridge, about here, is a ladder that leads down. At the bottom, there's a sewer gate that's covered by the falling water. You go through there, you find a painting room, an illusion wall to break. Past that, there's a coffin, and you get into it. That coffin will bring you down to the Castle Watering Hole, and you're almost ready to go. So for a map guide here, you pass through the Castle Watering Hole to the southeast, where you find another grace, passing along the cliff edge here, jumping over, and on your left as you progress down here, you'll see some lights and some bird golems. Head around to them and start going down the cliff's edge, and then follow the water to the east, and you'll eventually come to the Eastern Nameless Mausoleum. Go in there, defeat the boss, and you get an armor set and a new weapon. Next up, that brings us to the Talisman. We're running some basic options and then one new DLC Talisman. The original Axe Talisman, as one of our main attacks, is charge heavy that we're going to be spamming all the time. This will increase the damage of that. Kindred of Rot's Exaltation Talisman is a classic. The triggering of poison or rot in your vicinity will increase attack power, much like the Mushroom Crown. Since we're going to start the fight with this, it's going to always be going. Then we are going to be getting lots of staggers, so critical hits. The Dagger Talisman will increase the damage of those critical hit punishes, but the new Talisman, Blade of Mercy, what this does is raise your attack power flat out after you land a critical hit. This is pretty awesome, and especially with how we're getting multiple crits a fight, that's just really potent. So to get your own Blade of Mercy, you might even have it already. In the first region of the DLC, the Gravesite Plain, one of the first places you come to the northeast there, is the Scorched Ruins. So basically on the southwestern side of the Scorched Ruins, you've got these covered buildings which you can jump up onto on torrent using them like stairs. By making your way up and through here, you climb across the rest of the buildings, coming to the other side of the ruins. And at the top here, there's just this door. You open it, there's a chest inside, that's where you get the talisman. But those are the talismans, so let's now talk about the Wondrous Physic. Pretty standard fare here. We're running the stone barbed crack tier, which will make stance breaking easier, especially at the start of the fight while this is running. And then the spike crack tier to boost your charge attack power, which is making your heavy attack hits hit even harder. Finally, for our last topic for the build though, we need to talk about stats. At level 150, we are running 60 vigor for maximum health as always, 16 mind because we don't need more than that for our buffs and incantations. You could choose to run more if you're using more incantations than just the buffs though, dropping arcane to do so. 22 endurance allows us to wear everything with a medium roll. We dump strength and dex and intelligence. We got the 25 faith for the buffs and incantations of our choosing, and 70 arcane to maximize the damage of our weapon and the poison build-up. But yeah, those are the stats. But there you have it. That is the Poison Hand actually using the Poison Hand build. Inspired by the classic Star Fist style build, one of the meta options of the game, spamming those heavy attacks and breaking poise, punishing that, but then also getting the damage over time of the poison, maybe Scarlet Rot if you're working that in. It's just a lot more flavor to an otherwise pretty boring build where you're just using heavy attacks relying on Cragblade. This is still super effective, and if an enemy is weak to something like poison, it becomes absolutely busted. So a very fun variant of an original build, and if you're someone that likes the idea of poison or the Poison Hand, well, I can't think of something that's going to be much better than this. So if you've enjoyed the build, do drop a like on it. If you've got any suggestions to help make the build better, let us know in the comments. But until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.